everyone, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Gabby from Karas, and in this video we have one of our coaches, Surbhi Gupta. Surbhi is currently a product manager at Meta, and she was the senior product manager at Tesla. She has transitioned from a software engineer role into product management. She has landed offers from Coinbase, Uber, and many other big tech companies. She has also helped many PMs to land their role at Google, Meta, Dropbox, and startups. In this video, Surbhi will share with us the 5 different types of product sense questions most commonly asked at FAANG interviews, how you should answer them, what interviewers are looking for, along with top tips to help you structure your answers to ace your next PM interview. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hi everyone, this is Surbhi. My journey started with a startup and did that for a couple of years. Then went back to larger companies like Tesla, and recently I was in the interview phase again. Did interviews with some of the FAANGs, and as I wrote in my profile, landed some offers. So we'll be transitioning soon. That I will share a little later once I change my job. But yeah, today I thought it's really fresh in my mind as I went through all the process. So I'm happy to share some of the things that I learned during this process. As you all know, product sense is one of the key things in any PM interview, whether it's a small company, large company, every company has a different flavor. So as you all know, what's the purpose of product sense interview? It's like to see whether you can actually solve the right problem for the user and build a tangible product out of it. So that's the main purpose. And of course, different companies have different focus. For example, Google, everybody knows they are looking to solve larger problems, some moonshot ideas, but then it has to be that real problem that you have to crack. Facebook, whereas more on solving, like building something for the community. So we have to really understand before going to an interview what that particular company is looking for. But in reality, once I have seen this personally, that once your fundamentals are clear, you can actually, you have that product thinking. So that Spidey product sense, many people say, and then you can just tailor it to various different, like framework can differ. Sometimes the time duration in an interview can differ. For example, Facebook or Meta gives you full 40-ish minutes for doing a product sense, whereas companies such as Coinbase, Uber, in my experience, you have less time. So you have to be really mindful of the time and which areas you focus as you go through solving that problem. I know Amazon doesn't have a very exhaustive product sense round, but when I interviewed with Amazon, I did get a flavor of product sense question, which was favorite product, which is very common. So actually, let me take this opportunity to start. I'm thinking I'll start by sharing what are the top type of product sense questions that are generally common in most of the interviews. So I have categorized it in a couple of different like ways. One is like design X, which is like really very common. Some of the examples could be like, hey, design a better suitcase, design a better chair, or design something to help people to find homes, especially in Bay Area. It is so difficult. So that's like, there is something that you have to design from scratch. So that's the first element of a product sense interview. Here the focus is that you have to really understand that, okay, let's take an example of designing a better suitcase. That you first establish with the interviewer that, okay, is your understanding the same as the interviewer's understanding of that, like what you are gonna design. Then you establish, you have to focus on like, who am I? Am I a Google PM who is designing a suitcase, or I'm a suitcase company? Who am I really? Because that's how you will connect to the goal of like, what is my goal of designing something? Because maybe you want to focus on why this company is particularly interested in building this particular product. And then you go through the entire journey of finding the right user for it and solving the problem for that particular user, prioritizing it and coming to a solution. We'll go through that framework in a while, but this is the first flavor of product sense. Second type of question that's really common is design X for Y, where it's, let's take an example. For example, you can say design Facebook newsfeed for blind, or design Uber for kids. Very popular kind of a question. So here, since interviewer has given you the user, so you have to really focus on understanding that user, that okay, I have to, let's take example of Uber for kids. So what is Uber today? You establish that, okay, I'm assuming ride sharing app, and it's currently not available for kids. And then you focus on the kids, the user here, the why part, because that is the key to focus on this particular question. Whereas in the first question where we had design X, we had to understand X, the goal, the company, who am I, and then you figure out different user segments and prioritize one, and you justify why I'm picking this particular user. Whereas in this kind of question where you already have a user, you have to empathize very, very deeply with this particular user, why this particular user has a problem in the product today. Or maybe it is already existing, so you basically I keep all these interviews very interactive and understand that why are we building, and then within that user I still would do segmentation, but it would be in that particular category. For example, if it's kids, you can talk about demographics of kids. If it's for blind people, let's say any product, camera for blind. So there are different ways. So you have to establish like, okay, I'm going to prioritize based on maybe people who are fully blind, partially blind, recently blind, blind from birth, or is it like they live by themselves, they live in a community. So you establish, okay, I'm focusing on blind, and these are the different ways, and I think I should be solving for a particular segment within blind, and why, because, and you justify that maybe this is the most underserved segment, the impact is largest depending on your prompt. We had design X, then we had design X for Y. There is a third category which is like redesign X, which is again very common, and the most common flavor is improvement kind of a question. Or they can directly ask you, hey, if like redesign newsfeed, or improve grocery shopping experience. So these are basically that product already exists, and interviewer asking you to put in like redesign it. How can you improve it? So here the focus, they are not giving you user segment. They have not told you anything, just go and redesign, rebuild something. So here your approach is, okay, what is the purpose of rebuilding? You have to really come up with a solid goal again. Is it, for example, again, you establish that who am I again? Unless it's like, okay, improve Facebook events, then you're knowing very, very clearly that, okay, I'm the events PM and I'm going to improve that. You're like already few steps ahead. But then you establish a clear problem that why do we need to improve this particular experience? For example, it could be you want to drive more users, or there is a competition in this segment, you want to expand, you want to, so basically you see that where in the product life cycle you are. Is it a new product and you want to have more users, or it's a very successful product and you want to increase its reach to, like maybe some product is only existing for, let's say, teenagers, and you want to increase it to another kind of user base as well, or you want to increase the revenue, it's not good in monetization. So establish a specific goal on the improvement. So that's the focus here, and then you go through the framework again that, okay, this is my goal, and you again go to the user segments, and I'll share my structure of solving a product sense interview, but after this, like all the flavors. And the next type of question is basically it's very common in Google, they'll give you a technology and you have to build a tangible product out of it. Here is an example question. Let's say they tell you you have a teleport device, and it costs Google $100,000 in development, but it's a niche technology, build a product out of it. So here you have a technology, but it is not productized. There is no business model. It's not sure that, okay, which type of user we should be building for. It's like, yeah, it is capable. So it is capable of teleporting people, but how do we launch it? What do we do with it? So that's a fourth category of product sense question. It's not very common in Meta or Amazon or many of the other product companies, but very common in Google. I have heard another question, which is like, there is a stone that cures this particular disease X, and what do you do about it? So that's, then you basically share your understanding about the technology, ask interview. The clarifying questions would be, okay, what is this teleporting device? What does it do? Is it like transporting 100 kgs? Like, you are humans, live people, not like living objects. So those would be the clarifying questions. How many we have? So is our purpose like to earn money? So you stated that I think we should, this is my like direction I want to build this product for. So the clarifying questions would come based on first understanding what this technology is about, and then who am I again? but they will tell you Google has got this or company Y has got it, and then you go through the entire product sense framework by establishing the goal and finding the right use cases for this product where you think it could be successful. And then don't just stop there. I think in every product sense, ultimately you have to come up with the fully tangible product, including some sort of user experience to showcase your understanding, and that's what you do here. So basically they have solved some initial part of product sense by giving you a technology. Now you have to basically launch it for a particular user segment and make it a successful product. I'll share an example here. When Google Glasses were launched, they didn't have a particular user segment, a target segment. That's why some people say it was a failure, and I think there are a lot of case studies, and it was a big reason, because if you launch a product for everybody, sometimes it's not successful. So every product you have to gear for a very, very specific user segment, and that solves the right problems, and then you can expand for other users as well. And that's what this question tests, that as a PM, can you build a very, very specific product out of a technology? Let's say you work with in a company and engineering came up with something. How do you now take it to the market? So they are looking for that part of product sense here. Finally, so these are very common 4 flavors of product sense. Finally is favorite product question. Basically it's a little canned question, in the sense other questions are given you in the moment, so you take your time, pause, brainstorm. But in favorite product, the idea is that interviewer is saying that, okay, you pick a product, tell me why it's your favorite product. So you have to give that rationale. And then I have seen people losing structure in favorite product many times. They give random reasons, but think from a where product managers had, that why this product is your favorite product, how it has been better as compared to alternative products. So I justify based on this, that okay, this is the product, explain the product, what is the problem it is solving, who is the target user for this product, and I put a persona like myself, that okay, this is the target persona, this is the problem it is solving, these are the competing products, and how this product is like 10 times better than these other products in solving this problem. So that's how I justify this is my favorite product. And then the common follow-up question is, how would you improve it or build next, or what's the roadmap for this couple of 3 different type of things I have generally heard. Based on the question you get, again, you figure out, like, you don't have to like go through the entire journey again, because you have now, it's like, let's say my favorite product is, again, let's say suitcase. I'm just building that, that's not my favorite product. So then I will say, okay, this is the product, this is it is doing today, and this is the user. And then you say that, okay, these are other problems for this user that are not solved for this product, or this product doesn't. I generally try to improve the product and not go for like monetization or something, but that could also be a path. You can say that this product is really doing good, but they have not been able to capture the market really well. So then you start listing out the pain points, pick a pain point based on your rationale, then come up with some solutions. So then it follows the normal products and structure. But the key point to look here in favorite product is, don't just pick any random product. Pick a product that you are very, very aware of. Doesn't have to be your favorite product, but most familiar product, I would say, because if interviewer asks you anything, they expect that you know this product, and that's the reason people ask this question. Because I might ask you about a product that you've never heard, and then I don't want to score you low because you were not even aware of this product. So that's why I would say, hey, pick your favorite music app, pick whatever you're most comfortable with, so that I want a good answer as an interviewer. So prepare a lot on this question. Few things I would recommend. I have been asked many times, for example, music apps, YouTube, Spotify, and even in metrics questions, sometimes they say, oh, pick a product, something like this, or games product, some physical product, a technical product. So you should have like a couple of different products that you should have very good knowledge about it. What is the problem it is solving? What is the user? What are the things? How do you improve it? So this could be a good homework where you can practice your product sense. I think I just want to spend maybe a minute here that, basically one of couple of myths that people have on product sense questions and what their interviews are looking for, from my own experience and also taking interviews. So what people are really looking for, are you able to solve the problem? Many people think that, okay, I should come up with some fancy solutions. So definitely you need a solution, but don't wear a solution oriented thinking. that, okay, let's say people, I used to do that when I started preparing many years ago, think about a product, come up with fancy idea and convey that. You should really go through a framework. That framework really helps and makes your answer like 10x 20x better. So understand the question, the prompt that you have been given, then try to figure out the problems, and we'll go through the framework. I'll spend 5 minutes on that as well. Then come to like solutioning. So, and of course, in this you go through the user, the goal, and everything else, prioritization, because they are looking for your decision making capabilities, your prioritization, because there are so many things but that one can do in a product, but we of course have limited bandwidth from engineering. In real life we have to do so many trade-offs, and why should we build something? We have to give value, generate value for the company, for the people who are buying it. So what should we be building? And that you demonstrate through your this exercise. So it's not just about coming up with some interesting ideas. That of course creativity matters, but more than that, it's the structured thinking, clarity in your understanding of the problem domain, users pain points, and then clarity in communicating that. So I think that's one of the myths, that you have to be like product managers or idea generators. Not really, but once you think about a problem space, then you will figure out a way to solve it. That's what they are looking for. So that's one. And secondly, I think communication really matters a lot. So structure matters a lot in making you a normal candidate to a exceptionally good candidate, especially for example in companies like Coinbase, where time is also very critical. You are just having few minutes and you have to cover a lot of things. And if you read online, there are so many posts. What they are looking for is somebody who is able to communicate, handle a meeting well. Is interviewer feeling more knowledge after going to the talking with the candidate? Is he feeling more energized or drained out? So it's all about how, if even if you have good clarity, great structure, but are you able to communicate it properly, or are you jumping from one place to another? It does happen, but you have to practice, and practice makes you perfect or nearly perfect. So I think that's my second tip, which is I think very common, but there are different ways how can you improve your communication, because it's easier said than done. I had my own struggles. I spent a lot of time. A lot of my mentors helped me to structure my thinking better and communicate it effectively. So yeah, and different people have different struggling areas. So identify where you are lacking, and that's where mock interviews help. There are a lot of Slack channels but look for good feedback, patterns, record yourself. That's another thing. Last tip, I would also say that generally I did a lot of brainstorming in understanding different type of user segments, like how do kids, what are the kids products, how are they using technology, how are elderly working, what are their pain points. So generally reading about different type of people in different parts of the world, different kind of like limitations in terms of their mobility, maybe their knowledge level, literacy rates. So it just broadens your horizon, and that helps. So if somebody gives you a question on, oh, build something X for elderly, you at least know what are the struggles of elderly. But at least read couple of personas, like blind is very common, elderly, kids. And I generally make a sheet, come up with all the things and brainstorm with different people, because I don't live with the elderly, I don't have kids for example, but I want to really understand that, okay, kids till 5 years, how they behave, teenagers, so that I can then segment it better, brainstorm them to pain points. So that's another tip, that just see how different people are using different kind of products and their pain points.
Okay.
Let me go through the products and structure. I think it's a good pivot, and then you will know what I'm trying to say here. So my first point would be understand the problem prompt that you have been given really well. And that's where you ask your clarifying questions. Basically, those are assumptions that you are making, and you state it upfront and it becomes a clarifying question. So then you ask, who are you? As in some questions it does make sense, but if interviewer has already told you who are you, then you skip that. So use your judgment. Don't ask questions just for the sake of asking. Think about it, what problems you really need to what problem you need to be address before answering and going forward. That I would ask, and state any assumptions I have, because you don't want to like sound like, okay, you have done a job like of asking clarifying questions. If it's not relevant, that doesn't give you a better score, at least in my opinion. Then you convey your structure. I used to debate a lot that should I convey my structure, not convey my structure. I think it's important, especially in strategy questions in products, and still you can convey it at a very high level. Or once you, if you don't know in some interviews in some companies that what are you really trying to do, because if you're trying to solve the problem in a different tangent, at least interviewer can bring you back. He knows, okay, where, what is your map, where are you gonna go, and you say, no, no, I'm not looking for that, I'm looking for this. So conveying your structure helps you that, okay, what I'm gonna do in next 30 minutes, this is how I'm gonna structure my time. And it also showcases that you are a very structured person. How are you not gonna utilize this time? And also in some companies, maybe you don't have 30 minutes to answer a product sense question. Then also I sometimes ask, hey, how much time do I have? Do I have like 10 minutes to answer this question? Are you gonna ask a follow-up question? So I can know how much time I have to put into this question. So make it very conversational, as if you're working with a colleague. Convey your structure. Then for a general product sense question, what I would typically do is that why I'm solving this problem. Talk about the problem, as I was saying earlier. For example, for the suitcase, I shared what is my understanding of that. Then I would connect with the mission of the company, as I was saying, whether I'm like Google or Facebook. So Facebook's mission is very common. So you should generally read about the mission of the company, whoever you're interviewing for, and then connect that why would this company X would be interested in building this product. And that becomes your product's basically mission, or some people call it goal. But I would generally call it like, what is the vision of your product? So I will connect company's mission with your product thinking and state that. And then I generally personally say goal could be like, I want to improve, let's say, newsfeed to make it more relevant or to save people's time. So whatever criteria I have, so that I can ultimately have a metric in the end, I can measure that was I successful to achieve my goal. So that's the next step. Then I would actually put the whole ecosystem around it, because I have to come with user segment. So let's take an example, events, design something for events. So I would set up like, okay, what is in event space? There are event organizers, there are event attendees, maybe some people who help with events. So I will put the whole landscape. Then within attendees, I can say, oh, people who attend events, let me segment it by the frequency as an example. So then I'll say people who attend events maybe once a month, people who also attend, who are very rarely attending events. So I would first lay the landscape, then further segment the, you pick a user segment. Sorry, I missed one. I will share my criteria that which user segment I should be prioritizing here. I'll use my rationale here. Generally, I would have 3 points that why I need to pick this particular segment. Then I pick that segment and I would say, okay, let's brainstorm the pain points of this segment. Generally for brainstorming pain points, either you go through user journey. That really helps you to understand why, what is step 1, step 2, step 3 user is doing, and you can identify where you have the maximum scope to improve. Or you can come up with some random pain points as well. It depends on the prompt very, very specifically. The idea is to identify what are the avenues, and you also understand the user more. Then you list the pain points. Again, you showcase your prioritization by sharing the criteria, which one you want to pick. And then basically you come to solutioning. Again, you prioritize which solution you're gonna build on. Here, all of these prioritization criteria have different ways. Generally, every time I use 3, and all 3 are different in different stages. In user, there is a different criteria to prioritize, but you have to prioritize everywhere. In solutioning, it's a different criteria, like what's most visible. Maybe nobody else is doing it. Depends on, again, on what are my different solutions. And then I just don't stop here. That's where most of the people stop. You actually have to go one step extra and actually come up with a tangible solution. Maybe talk about it. I'm not good in UX design, on like, especially in interviews without a whiteboard, like on writing on the paper. So I generally talk through it. So that's where I'm making sure that interviewer and I are on the same page, that he's able to understand my solution. So it's a tangible product where he can feel, okay, I would navigate, this user is going to take care just a little bit, just spend 2 minutes. And then you can share your success criteria, how you're going to measure success, that this feature is actually going well. And if you have time, then you can also talk about something in future, but it depends if you have time. If it's a full-blown product sense interview. I think that's the structure on rough. Sorry, I had to cover it really fast. There are so many elements, I rushed through it, and it's better to take an example, but it's like a longer exercise. I just wanted to give some flavor here.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to get in touch with